You know, for as long as we've been around, we've been obsessed with this idea of turning back the clock on aging. The fountain of youth, the elixir of life, it's a story as old as time. But what if the answer wasn't in some myth, but was actually hidden deep inside our own DNA? Okay, let's dive into this. We're talking about some absolutely groundbreaking research, where scientists aren't just trying to cure the diseases of old age, they're trying to treat aging itself. And by using gene therapy in mice, they've stumbled upon some results that are, well, they're both astonishing and way more complicated than anyone thought.
So here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the big picture, this quest for longevity. Then we'll meet the 3 specific genes that are the stars of our show. After that, we get to the really surprising part, a discovery that reveals a huge difference between the sexes. Then we'll figure out why one of these therapies worked so well for everyone. And finally, we'll ask the big question, what could all this mean for us?
Okay, first up, the quest for longevity. And look, this isn't just about adding more years to your life, right? It's about adding more life to your years. And these experiments, they're a massive leap forward. And the pioneers on this incredible journey? Well, they're mice. Scientists are using them to test out 3 different genetic therapies. Each one is designed to give a boost to a naturally occurring age-fighting gene to see if they can actually slow down or maybe even reverse the aging process.
All right, so what exactly are these so-called longevity genes? Let's meet the 3 key players that are at the center of all this. Okay, first up, we have klotho. Now, this protein is already kind of famous in anti-aging circles. Study after study has shown it seems to have these amazing rejuvenative effects, so naturally it's a prime suspect for a life-extending therapy.
So how they do it? Well, the plan was to use a totally harmless virus, it's called an AAV, and use it as a kind of tiny biological delivery truck. See, these viruses are perfect for gene therapy because they can carry genetic instructions into cells without making you sick. And in this case, the cargo they were carrying told the mouse cells to start pumping out more of a specific form of klotho.
Next on our list is TERT. You can think of TERT as the key ingredient in an enzyme called telomerase. And its job is, well, it's absolutely crucial. It's the thing that rebuilds the protective little caps on the ends of our DNA.
The big idea here was, what if you could boost TERT levels later in life, not just in young mice, but in adult and even old mice? The hope was that maybe, just maybe, you could repair some of that age-related DNA damage and help them live longer, healthier lives. And our third and final gene is SIRT6. Now, this one belongs to the famous sirtuin family of proteins. You've probably heard of them. They've been linked to everything from metabolic health to regulating how long we live. The experiment for SIRT6 was about as straightforward as it gets. The goal? Create mice that just naturally produce more of this protein, and then sit back and see if they live longer than their siblings. Simple as that. All right, hang on, because this is where things get really, really interesting. Section 3, a story of 2 sexes. This is when the results start coming in, and trust me, they were not what anyone expected. At first, the results from that klotho study look like a total home run. I mean, just look at this chart. The male mice that got the therapy, they showed a big, significant jump in lifespan compared to the ones that didn't. On the surface, it seemed like a clear victory.
But yeah, there's a but. A really shocking catch, actually. When the researchers dug deeper into the data, they found something pretty disturbing.
And here's where it all went sideways. While the male mice were thriving, living longer lives, the female mice developed some really serious health problems. We're talking skin ulcers and other severe side effects. The exact same therapy was having wildly different, and in this case, harmful effects, all based on sex.
And get this, it wasn't a fluke. The SIRT6 study, a totally separate experiment, found the exact same pattern. The therapy worked like a charm for the males, extending their average lifespan by almost 17%. But for the females, nothing. No significant benefit. This pattern is a huge red flag, and it really shows how differently male and female bodies can react to the very same treatment.
So, what about TERT? Was it the same story? Well, this is where our story takes a fascinating turn. If you look at these survival curves, you'll see the lines for the mice that got TERT are way higher than the others. TERT was the game changer. It successfully and safely increased the median lifespan in both males and females, and not by a little, by up to a whopping 24%. This one worked for everyone.
So that begs the obvious question, right? Why did TRT work so well when the others didn't? That brings us to Section 4. Let's unlock the mechanism.
Okay, to get this, we have to talk about something called telomeres. And honestly, the best way to think about them is like those little plastic tips on the end of your shoelaces. You know, the ones that stop the laces from fraying? Well, telomeres do the same thing for our DNA. But every time a cell divides, they get a tiny bit shorter. And that shortening is a huge part of aging.
And that's exactly what the TERT therapy is fixing. Now, I know these charts might look a little complicated, but the main takeaway is super simple. In all sorts of different organs, the brain, the heart, the liver, the therapy slashed the number of dangerously short telomeres. It was basically stopping that DNA fraying that causes so many problems as we get older.
And you know, this wasn't just about adding more days to their lives. The data here shows real, actual health improvements. The mice that got the therapy had better bone density, which is huge for fighting things like osteoporosis. They also had better balance and coordination. So in short, they weren't just living longer, they were living better.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up and ask the big question. Section 5, From Mice to Us. What are the major takeaways from all this incredible work?
So what have we learned? Well, first off, it's pretty clear these gene therapies have real, incredible promise in fighting aging. Second, and this is a massive finding, the effects can be completely different for males and females, which is something all medical research needs to pay attention to. Third, it seems like protecting and rebuilding our telomeres is a really powerful strategy for delaying aging. And finally, yeah, this is still early research, but it is fundamentally changing how we even think about the process of getting older.
And this really leaves us with a huge, kind of mind-bending question, doesn't it? For literally all of human history, aging has been this unavoidable fact of life. But if science keeps going down this road, if it can actually turn aging from a certainty into a choice, what does that mean for us? And what other massive challenge will humanity decide to take on next?